Joining us now is Jeff Benedict, the author of Poisoned, about America's first E. coli outbreak. Good morning, Jeff. Full disclosure, you and I have been great friends for a long time. Poisoned, I think, is your best book. It just got a rave review by the New York Times. What about this book, based on 20 years ago, relates to what we see in food safety today?
Well, 20 years ago, Americans had never even heard the term E. coli. Today it's a household word, it's a dirty word, but back then it was a word we didn't know. Suddenly, 700 kids on the West Coast are sick, 4 die within a matter of 3 weeks, and the country wakes up to the idea that a hamburger can be lethal if it's not properly cooked. And that's what really changed the debate in a way that hadn't happened since The Jungle was written by Upton Sinclair. There have been all these rule changes. But today, we have 6 new strains of E. coli that weren't around, at least hadn't surfaced in our food supply back then. And they're in our food supply now, and we don't test for them. And that's exactly the situation we were in back in '93. That's why the Jack in the Box outbreak hit us so hard.
If these cuts aren't restored by the Senate, what does $200 million mean to food safety in this country? Well,
it's huge because right now, less than 1% of the food that comes into the United States, the imported food, is inspected by our inspectors. That's just, most consumers would say that's totally outrageous. There's an enormous amount of food that you pick up in the grocery store that you just assume has been inspected and is safe. And the fact is, we don't know.
What advice would you have for consumers? This is the 4th of July weekend. People are out buying hamburger meat and everything else. As they're shopping, what's the best advice you could give them?
Well, the best advice is to, not buy commercially produced meat. That's not an option for everybody, but if you can buy locally produced meat, grass-fed cows, organic meat is the best thing. But if you're in grocery store shopping, simple things like if you buy lettuce, they tell you to wash it. You should wash it, but peel off the outer leaves. I mean, that's where any E. coli will attach. Those are just simple things I think consumers can do when they're home.
Jeff, there's a certain fear factor to food these days. I mean, how likely are we to have another outbreak like Poisoned or like what we're seeing right now and have seen in Germany and in Europe?
Well, I think what happened in Germany absolutely could happen here because the thing is in Germany they're not testing. We look at that outbreak and we say, we dealt with that back in '93 when we had Jack in the Box. But the truth of the matter is we've got these new strains in our food supply now. The FDA knows they're there, the USDA knows they're there, Congress knows they're there, but we haven't done anything to test for them, and we have the ability to test for them. It's just a matter of allocating the funding to do it.
Just quickly, Jeff, imported food, 4 billion pounds coming in from China. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't think it's necessary for America to import the amount of food we do right now. We can grow enough to feed ourselves. It's crazy that we buy our shrimp from China. It doesn't make sense. And it raises all kinds of new food safety concerns because we don't know what's going on a fish farm in the middle of China. We have no idea what's happening on that place. And then the fish gets here and it doesn't get inspected. I think it's dangerous.
Jeff, good to see you again, man.
Good to see you, Armen.
Absolutely riveting book.